It's time. Get to buildmyaibot.com. Those of you that are logging in, if you happen to be here now, if you go to buildmyaibot.com and log into the Papa Life Room, I'll be recording from there as well. I'll be sharing my other meeting with this group. Okay. This is when you learn how to do pat your head and rub your tummy. Okay, I can do it with my left, but I can't do it with my right. All right, we're going to start in a few minutes as I continue to get prepared. All right, let's see if we can record two different cameras at the same time. Let's go to the Papa Life Room. Don't end it. Stay on. Let's go to, is it time? It should be. Be with you shortly. I'm working out my nerves. I do two things at once. Okay. The chat's coming open. If you go to buildmyaiboss.com, and you should be able to get into the Papa Life Zoom room. Yeah, get that one out the way. Great. Now I'm going to share my screen. And then I'm going to head over to themeeting.com. All right, let's get over to meeting. If I look a little off, it's because I'm trying not to be. All right, we should be sharing from buildmyaibot.com from the Papa Life room. And make sure that's correct. All right. So welcome everyone. My name is Brian Hill, and I will be sharing with you for fathers of adult children. We are going to have a conversation tonight. It's second hour for today. It's the second offering for me this morning or this afternoon. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but we learned from it and we're still learning. So I want to make sure this is being recorded. And all this can be edited out once we get it going. Okay, the recording is happening. Good. Streaming is happening. Good. Okay. As I said earlier, remember God. No matter what happens, no matter what's going on, remember God. We can't make it through the day. We can't make it to our next event or through this next hour if He's not being followed. That's my goal. Let Him speak. Let me share with you what I've learned. And so here we go. So if you came tonight because you were asked to, or I know you and I asked you to come, or we've been friends for years and I've been trying to get this together, I think it's finally happening. All these years from Black Men Speak in 2011 in Oakland, working with new friends, building new relationships, learning about technology, learning about getting the word out, all the way up to starting my own company back in 2015, up until now. The goal was building a life coach business sharing what I learned, and I think is the 2020 when it really hit me hard. When the country was going through, we were watching the police get killed. We were just shocked. Obviously, the Black community wasn't shocked, but the fact that everyone was watching and they had an opinion. So I remember thinking, what am I going to do as an individual Black male to be a solution to what I can't control? So the idea came to me, why don't I just open up a Zoom room every day, 7:30 to 8:30 or 6:30 to 7:30, Monday through Friday, and just let brothers talk. That's my solution. Just listen. They are feeling a lot. They want to talk about what's going on. So Boss Mobility Life Coach Service was born in April of 2020 as a solution to just let men talk. That graduated from, I think it was April of 2020 to the very next year. I took a course, and the idea of Black and Latino father entrepreneurs was born. That course was 3 or 4 months long. Spent $2,200 trying to nail down what is my market? Who are my target audience? Who am I interested in supporting? What do I want to talk about? What the needs are so many. Where am I going to start? So from 2021, I think it was October, up until January of this year, I was experimenting with titles and marketing and topics around the area of helping fathers, entrepreneurs. I closed my business down from that effort in December of 2025. And I finally decided I'm only going to focus on now from April 2020 to the iteration of Fathers of Adult Children, FOADC. Sound like a radio station. And when that hit my heart, I was very excited. I met some young men, I want to say January of 2024. I met Alpha Dennison II. I met James Martin, and they're in different parts of the country. And we spent a lot of time together, learning and training and talking. I'm screaming and fighting. I don't want to do this tech stuff. And they're going, Brian, you got to learn it. I don't want to learn it. I really did. I just didn't want to be responsible for doing work for other people that I couldn't really do. So I took my time over the last 2 years and I learned everything that I could. And I asked Alpha, hey, I need some help. How do I get out who I am and what I've learned, on a website or in a course or something? So he did some training for me, talked me through things that I didn't want to do. But I remember this is a young man. I need to help him and his dad. So I'm going to focus on helping him. He's going to teach me tech and I'm going to teach him the wisdom of fatherhood because we're 30 years apart. And that was probably the best thing God ever did for me. It sent me a young man who was in my world. Not, I'm not a sports guy, you know, work, hobby. I'm not in that world of sports like most of us are. My sport is marriage, family, thinking through the details of life. How do I learn and how do I articulate what does a man go through? And what turned out, what the I think I iterated to the point of it is Papa Life. And this Papa Life came from Alpha naming some AI agents. He was trying to teach me about AI agents. I guarantee I was resisting. But when I finally got it, I went crazy. And he named this little tab, this one little agent, Papa Life. I remember the explosion of awareness and understanding. That's it. That's what's happening in men's minds. That conversation we have by ourselves, I'm calling that Papa Life. Alpha put the words, those two key words, on an AI agent. And if you want to talk to Papa Life, you can go to bossmobility.net and have at it. Once I understood, Black men typically are not interested in the topic that I'm interested in. I mean, in general, we're not technically inclined to do computers, not speaking of everyone, but just in general. I could have a conversation about sports with someone and go through that. But if I was to talk tech and try to go through the videos, I don't want to hear it. So I decided, let me just focus on what I've learned and what I know. My basic knowledge base is fatherhood. And since my children were adults, there's another parenting shift that happens with fathers between when your kids are between 20 and let's say 40 or 25 and 45 years old. That's a whole different experience. You don't parent, teach, guide, train, tell what to do your adult children. The shift happens, and we're going to get into that tonight because those are the things that I've learned. So, fathers of adult children is my target. That's my conversation. That's who I think about all day, every day. Other than my wife and my children and the grandchildren and those familial responsibilities and things that we do all day long. I'm retired now. I'm retired from working with a lot of people over a lot of years. Not a group person, but I'm specifically for one conversation with one person. And most of the fathers that I know, we really haven't, I would say we've been taught. We've just kind of brought together what we've learned growing up, what we see happening out in the community, and whatever our decisions are. And that's kind of helped us raise our children. But now that I'm 67, and this is the last season of life, no matter how you look at it. If it's 4 quarters of life, 25, 25, 25, woo, this is the last season. So in this season, wisdom, knowledge, experience, contentment are thoughts that I reflect on a lot. So I want to pass that on to other fathers that are looking at their adult children. I'm only going to focus on the pattern that we've created. I'm not here to teach you. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to redirect what you've already done. You're living through what you've done. And all of us are looking back and asking ourselves, how do we know if we did what we were supposed to do according to the children, not according to us or the community? All right, so let's get into it. Tonight, there's a son, there's a daughter in your life who used to call, who used to spend time with you, who you may have given each other nicknames, and there was a sense of affection and connection when they were growing up. You used to get hugs. You used to go through moments where you really enjoyed being with them. Even if you were a little bit emotionally detached, in your heart of hearts, you love your kids. But now the children are grown. And to some degree, you may feel like a stranger to them. You may not feel like you're close to them from your point of view. I'm a father of three. Again, my name is Brian Hill. And in 2 weeks, I'll be married 49 years. Been at the same church for the last 42 years. So when I think about those three bodies of knowledge that I've lived in within marriage, family, children, now grandchildren, and church, I have a very clear perspective of what I've learned. And I've tried to write that down. If you go to the website bossmobilelifecoach.com/papa hyphen journey, that's one funnel you can get started. I've put some things together for free for the fathers of adult children. If you go to papalifecoach.com, it will direct you to the same funnel. And the funnel simply is I've recorded some videos to bring up the pillar conversations on what I call the four pillars, my framework of where I get my ideas from and where I have learned to kind of narrow down, laser focus. It's purpose, PAPA, Papa, purpose, authority, alignment, and I'm sorry, purpose, authority, presence, and alignment. That's it. Purpose, authority, presence, and alignment. Papa. And all that happens inside of our minds and in our hearts. Papa Life is the name of my self talk. Even though it was an idea from my friend Alpha, it resonated with me that that's what I'm going to name my internal dialogue with myself. So Felice and I got married in Richmond at 1501 Florida Avenue, the Richmond Church of Christ. That's where I grew up. That was my spiritual background, the Church of Christ. Been in there for a number of years. There are, in every father, there is a sense of blame where you want to point fingers at. That was my experience inside my heart. Papa Life was yelling at me. You want to point out to your kids that they're wrong or they did this or should have done that. And that was not helping. That was not allowing me to give room for them to grow up. Um, when I talk about fathers of adult children, I'm not teaching you. I'm facilitating a conversation about what I've learned and what I think. And I've named it FOADC. Everybody has it. You may call it something different, self-talk, subconscious. I gave mine a name that I can relate to. Now, when your kids turn 18 or so, the world says, hey, they're grown. The rules change. What society says change. What the culture says changes. And that silence that happens after they grow up and leave, some of them have come back between 18 and 35 because of the expensiveness of living in California. But primarily when they grow up, 18 and above that, your relationship with them shifts. And some of us haven't changed. We have not made the shift. We didn't go through and learn how to repair some of the patterns that we set up that were not positive between us. We didn't change our fatherhood mindset. We need to do some repair work. The kids know it. It's us fathers who think we know everything now and can direct and control and dictate with authority what you used to do, no longer. And so I want to introduce the idea that you need to make a shift. If your children are in their 20s and 30s and you haven't, tonight, hopefully will be the first time you've ever heard someone say to you, Dad, you need to change. I'm saying it that way because I want to change. So we miss out when we don't want to change. We just miss out emotionally. There are some areas of our heart where, Papa Life, call it, we know what's really happening. We know we broke some things as they were growing up, and it's our fault. And I have to live with the decisions I made that did not help my children as they were growing up. But keep in mind, this is not about the children, this is about fathers and their mindset. So here's the truth I want to plant before we go any further. No matter where you are with your children, no matter what the relationship has brought you or what you've brought forward, the only way we want to look at this to have a discussion is that's a pattern. That's all it is. It's a pattern. When you're lost, you can be found. When you create a pattern that hasn't changed, that's what we're going to talk about. Let's work on that. So what we're doing today in the next few minutes is to break down, 2 or 3 points of things I've learned. One of the stories I want to bring up is I feel like I lost my daughter. In my mind, I lost my connection with my daughter as she grew up and moved on. And I found it very difficult to feel like I can be engaged connection because I was still in the fatherhood mode, how I even looked at her or looked at my kids, period. So I had to make some major changes, and that was hard to do. But the framework I use to coach other fathers and have this conversation, it's a 5-step path of things you go from point A to point B. The 5-step path is very easy to understand. Living through it and practicing it and implementing it is the challenge. So here's an exercise you can do tonight with your hands that begins to wrestle that silence away. I ask AI to go on my computer, pull all my data together, and write me an 18-chapter book. And when it got finished writing the chapters and putting it all together, it gave the book title, Why the Silence? That was interesting to me. Why the silence? Why are we so quiet about what we need to work through and work on and conversations we need to have? Why don't we want to have them? So if you're here tonight, if you don't mind putting in the chat, just let me know. Just write the word here, and that will give me some idea that you're with me. That helps me to know who's in the room. All right. My story is this. When my father left, it was like putting an iron on a white shirt. And if you leave it on too long, it's going to be scorched, seared, like a hot iron. When my eyes saw my dad leave, it literally retched and imprinted. Where's he going? I still remember the question. And it directed the course of my life. Okay, 11 years old, see father leave. But between 11 and let's say 25, I still saw him, but I didn't see him the way I should see him. Bitterness, resentment grew in my heart, and I separated myself. Even though I physically saw him, I just had this arrogant, prideful picture of you don't leave your kids. You don't do that. And it was so deep. I remember thinking, I'm going to get married. Here are my goals. I had 5 goals at 18. I'm going to get married. I'm going to have children. And then with those children, I'm going to teach them, guide them, train them, and send them back to the community to contribute to society. That's all I wanted when I got married. I did not want to leave my children. It was so deeply ingrained. I thought that was wrong. I think being with your children are sacred. You can't leave them. Same with my wife. You don't leave your wife. You work through anything you need to work through. You don't walk out if you can prevent that. I thought for many years all I needed to do was provide, pay bills, put food on the table, you know, doing what other dads were doing before me and what I saw primarily our role was. And I remember when my silent conversation went quiet, when I just watched my oldest that was growing up and moving on. And so I would say between 18 and 35 or 40, that those years of watching was, birthdays, holidays, I found myself just watching the kids. Didn't feel like I was participating, didn't feel like I was there. And the way you can picture it is if you're on your phone in your family and everybody's laughing and talking and you're on your phone punching the computer, that's what I mean by disengaged. Only I didn't have to have the computer in my hand to be disengaged. So hopefully that would give you a metaphor of what do I mean by disengaged, this silent treatment. So Papa Life and I had to grow up learning how do you treat adult children? They've been with you all your life. You've only seen them in their growing up years. Now they're equal to me. I need to be treating them differently. I don't know how to treat them differently. All I know how to do is be their dad. And that was incorrect, the way I learned it. So, anyway, having the quiet storm happening in my heart of hearts, I had to kind of clean that up. And so I remember a conversation I had with my oldest where something was happening in her household. Things were going on spiritually, and I have a lot of opinions about spirituality, thoughts, feelings, think I know. And I knew that wasn't the right heart to have. So I didn't think I could even have a conversation about what I thought, what I see, what I believe. It was her family, her, that was not my room to say anything that would impose anything on me. So I remember thinking, I just need to support her and the kids. Whatever's going on, I sent that message to my daughter. And I remember the feeling of, whew, what a relief. Hey, I'm talking, Domino. You can't interrupt my conversation with my people. So I remember the relief that I had. I thought, wow, I'm not getting on her. I'm not telling her what to do. I'm not giving my opinion. I just remember feeling connected, supportive. I remember holding that space, going, wow, she's lived in such a way with her husband that their children are now making decisions about giving, listening, loving, serving in the ways that they know how. And all I needed to do was support that. That was my, I would assume, breakthrough where I was aware that Papa Life needs to make some major shifts. So that was what I needed to work through. Papa Life and I had a conversation, and I decided I cannot continue separating myself and blaming or pointing fingers or expecting things, and she has no idea what I'm expecting. All that came from me and Papa Life. So stop creating things that are not true, dads. Stop putting the pattern that you created up in front of them where they don't see you changing at all. And I think the best way I can give you an example of that is in 2005, we used to have family times every week or often as we could. And it was my turn to get feedback and input from all the kids and my wife. And I remember listening to the words, but I also remember Papa Life was like a lava as I was listening. I was trying my best to take it in and not react. I blew up. I'm ashamed of it. That's why I remember it now. Very much so like I remember when my dad left that seared with hot iron. That reaction that I had was seared. It was incorrect. It wasn't the way to respond. I still am ashamed of it, even as I describe what I went through back then. And my son was trying so hard, Dad, don't get mad, don't get back, hold it, hold it. It didn't work. All right, so 2005 was my moment to go. I've got to learn how to take verbal feedback and respond in the way that's helpful for all involved. Not agree or disagree, just listen. That was the thing I couldn't do. But I think I've grown through that and have decided I really want to learn how to use my words that benefit, lift up, and show that I'm trying to change or have changed. I'm not telling you this because my story is special or that I know more than you. No, this is my description of my internal conversation called Papa Life. And I put it into a life coaching conversation for other men who may not be aware. So this is not to preach at you. This is not to try to be moral or moralize you or in any way. I have no desire to do that. I do have a desire to learn how to use my words where it will benefit you if you need to have the same conversation with yourself. So the 5 steps, the 5 paths of change that every father of adult children should consider. Most fathers get stuck in these 2 words, regret. And if you want to move away from regret, move over to reflection. Most fathers get stuck right there in regret. They don't change. And regret is a closed loop. Papa Life just goes around in your head. No one else knows. And if you don't get your finger off that button that says, keep playing this, you're going to stay in regret. It will eat you alive. It doesn't move you. It's a closed circle, regret. So the first move to move away from that, convert from that, is move into reflection. Not the closed loop. You didn't do this right. You didn't do that right. You keep remembering what someone said. Not that. What am I saying by what I'm thinking? What can I move away from based on what I'm thinking? Reflections ask, what did I do? What did I miss? What was I taught about being a man that I'm now passing on? That's reflective thoughts. So if you have any moment in listening to me or as I articulate these words and something is coming up for you, just notice it. Don't push it away. Don't say it's not there. If it's coming up for you, hold that space. Let's move on. Step 2, go from confusion to understanding. In other words, after reflection happens, confusion comes because you'll see your part. You won't understand why you see and why you're confused. But see, that's where most men quit, in that confusion state, in the regret state. But I want you to move away from that at the moment as we are having this conversation with Papa Life. Don't quit. But let that confusion be not the enemy, but the confusion is a doorway. As you move from regret to reflection, asking yourself open-ended questions about you and the pattern you establish with your kids. And then you move from step two, from confusion to understanding. From confusion to understanding. After reflection comes, I noted that you'll see a part of you and you want to understand why it's happening. And as men quit during that stage, you want to use that as a door. Don't quit. Bring it in. So the difference between what we were taught about manhood versus what our adult children actually see and need. We want to stay there for a moment. The difference between what we were taught about manhood versus what our children, our adult children, actually need. That's a shift. And if you haven't made that shift tonight, it's the beginning of a reflective question for yourself. Am I going to make this move? Am I going to shift from the old patterns of how you responded to your children? Now that they're grown, you're going to continue to do the same thing, say the same thing, get on their nerves, do things that you know it's separating you. It's not bringing you together. Your child doesn't need your explanation. Your adult child does not need to hear it. They need your ears. Close this, open that. That's what I'm working on. So we move from step two, from confusion to understanding. Step three, we move from humility to listening. Closing, opening. And now this is the one that takes years off most men's lives. Humility is not weakness. Humility is not groveling. Humility is the ability to listen to your adult children, to their experiences, without you defending yourself. I have a mile marker in my heart, 2005. Don't do it. You know what it's like. Don't go there. Your child does not need your explanation. They need your ears. Step four, go from courage to conversation. The hardest part in step four is going from courage to conversation, because you have to pick up the phone or write a note or communicate with, whether it's a Zoom link or a text message. You got to write, you got to connect with no guarantee that there will be a response. So from humility to what is it? Listening, and then moving from courage to conversation without expecting a response. You may not get a response. Use your phone to write this down. Wait, let them get in, let this sink in. And here are the three words I want you to practice, fathers. I am sorry. And you can do that through your life and say no words, or you can use your words, or you can send a text, a note. Whatever is your authentic way of communicating, you are sorry, you are aware that there's changes you want to make, send that message to them. But don't expect an explanation. Just listen. So the courage to have a conversation is the fourth step. And the next one is reconnection to peace. It's not a destination. Reconnection it's like a practice. Reconnecting happens when you do 1,000 little things, small moments that they notice, and you keep doing it because it benefits and engages them. Not one big thing you did or one big thing, hey, I'm sorry, none of that. Just small little moments over time It'll bring you peace. It will bring the relationship peace, and they won't even know it because you've decided internally you're going to keep doing the reconnecting. It's an ongoing experience, not a one off. You see, peace is what you get when you carry or care whether they ever pick up the phone or not. Reconnection happens 1,000 times. Small things, things you consistently do that they need. Peace is what you get to carry, whether they respond or not, because you're doing what is needed, whether it's listening or providing uh, what they need, whatever they ask of you, and I bring you peace. But some of you won't reconnect with your kids, even though you hear what I'm saying and you understand the words and they're right, and you're getting convicted in those areas where you know you created the wrong pattern. Some of you are not going to change. You're just not going to, because that's what you've always done. I'm not saying anything new. This is in the public domain, it's in everybody's family, and they know that ain't changing. But if you want peace, you'll start. You'll get there. Some of you will change. Some of you are hearing my words as a man instead of hearing it from your children or your wife or a family member. You're at a moment where you are listening right now, maybe for the first time, and saying, I cannot believe this person is open endedly with words as a man, articulating some of the things my wife and my kids have said. Did he really get it? Brian Hill, you're going to change? Well, I want to. If I don't, I'm at that point in my life where it's okay to hear what other people say and what they need. I don't have to be defensive. You can reconnect with your grown children if you have a desire to listen to them. But again, some of you may not. So I'm going to get ready to bring this to a close and ask those of you that are listening, if you have any thoughts or comments, please write them in. See if there are some ways I can kind of communicate what they might be or what they are. And if they're not, that's okay too. I'm going to be here every week, Tuesday at 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. At the very bottom of my screen, you'll notice there are the age or stages of fatherhood, young fathers, growing fathers. I put a little age to give you an idea of what I meant by that. Each of these tabs go to the same website, papalifecoach.com or bossmobilelifecoach.com/papa-journey. There is a 6 lessons of just listening to help you understand the framework that are created within the uh, purpose, authority, presence, and alignment. And when you take those free courses to get you thinking along the same line, then you can decide whether or not you want to continue to keep learning. So think about this. What is the first move when your kids became adults? What is the first thing that was cut completely? Was it talking? Was it visiting? Nothing? No movement? How do you apologize without making it about you? What if your wife disagrees with what you're thinking about yourself in this Papa Life conversation, what you want to work through and change? And what if she says, hey, I don't think that's going to work? What you're thinking is not going to work with them. What if your wife disagrees with you? How are you going to handle that? Again, you get to decide that. How long does reconciliation take? When you think about the pattern you've created, most of the experiences that I had with adult children and fathers as fathers were not emotionally connected or engaged in a way that the adult kids were satisfied. It was memories of many, many experiences that did not sit well with them. And that's what I mean by doing 1,000 things consistently so that they're not living in that picture you created for them. So as we wrap this up, before we go, I want to ask you to do one thing. Not next week, not when you feel ready, tonight. Take that communication tool. For some is a pen and pencil, paper, some is your phone, some is your desktop, whatever your laptop, whatever you use. And just kind of, I am sorry. Write that down. Type that in. I am sorry. I'm going to type it in the chat for myself so I can participate. And just note, I am sorry. And keep that where you can see it every day. That would be you saying, I'm ready to change. Because that is a change for you right now. I am sorry. And hold on to that. Look at that. That's a little thing. 1,000 little things you do for yourself to talk to Papa Life. I am sorry. And you know who you're sorry towards. You know what you need to work through. And tomorrow I'll kind of decide what you want to do with it. Whether you want to send it to them, burn it, delete it. What matters is that you sit with it and determine what to do tomorrow. Our world of people around us are moving so fast that we don't even stop to consider, reflect, and hold in these thoughts that we should, but we should. And so, with that being said, I'm going to get ready to end this. We have a few more minutes left before we actually close down, but I hope that this was helpful to you where you just decided to start using your own Papa Life and think through, hey, I wonder how many friends of mine that are in our age group, I would say between 50 and 80 years old, who need to have this shift and they need to hear this. Is it a brother? Is it a friend? Is it an uncle? Is it your son? Is it another set of friends you grew up with but may have not communicated with them? This is our 50th year graduating from high school, and in Chicago, our Dunbar Vocation was having their reunion, and I thought, well, I really would love to go. I just can't justify spending money on an airplane to go say hi and turn right around and come back, and only because I'm going to give a hug to someone I haven't seen in years. So it's important, but the idea that some of us are still here, we get to talk online, that's just as helpful in my mind. I just need you to see me, is what the kids are saying. I just need you to hear me, understand what I'm feeling. That's what they need from us. And we weren't taught to process that. We know they need it. We intellectually are saying it to ourselves right now. Yes, you're right. But living that, practicing that is completely different than what they need and what you just said or what you agreed with. So this week, when you see them, not the version of you wish they were, the version of them as they are. I love watching this part of my kids' lives because they had 20 years of learning and listening and us providing. And then they've had 20-year block of their responsible. They built it. They're living in it, living through it. And I love watching. These four things have happened in my family. Everybody's probably doing it, but I focused on them. Giving, listening, loving, and serving. Everybody in our family, from the 9 years youngest to the oldest of us, we just know how. We know how to provide that for other people. Some people call that love. Some people call that God, Jesus. There's so many ways to express that. I was even looking at the sun, the moon, and the stars. And what do? They give, they listen, they love, they serve. That's just the nature of God. And I know that's what I get to enjoy is looking at what God has done for our family, for our life, especially getting me to a point where I can actually hear that I want to think differently for the pattern I've set up and make that shift. Okay, so this week, you see them not as the version you created, but at the version that they need you to be, as they actually are. And if they're not in your life right now, you see yourself with grace, see yourself with honesty, See yourself with the willingness to keep on walking. Don't stop. Some of us are not out where we're free to walk around and make decisions and do things with our kids, but they're here. They're watching. They still want to be connected to you. So I'm going to leave it there, and I hope that this benefited you in some way. If it did not, that was my intent. All right. To be continued. See you next week.